clicked. There we go. Okay. There we go. So, how are you today, Marianne Morrison?
Oh, I'm just fantastic, Kathleen Sinnott. How are you?
I'm just peachy.
Peachy.
Is
It's
anybody
warm
buying this?
outside. Yeah, nobody's buying it. Nobody's buying it. Are we live everywhere? You didn't say.
uh, about 5 seconds to Facebook, and I will check the others while we talk about things and stuff.
Things and stuff. For those of you who have just joined, this is the BA Zone Live pre-show, where tonight we're going to be talking about trends in healthcare as far as from a business analyst perspective for this year. And Kathleen and I were just talking about some of the interesting trends that are odd out there in as we were researching all of the trends and the trends that we know about. So once we get up live with Facebook, we'll share some of those. They're kind of on the funny side. Hope everybody's having had a great weekend, having a great start to the beginning of your work week. And
And we are
Kathleen and I
live
are just
everywhere.
we are live. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the BA Zone Live pre-show. I'll just repeat myself for those folks who just joined. Tonight we're going to be talking about healthcare trends and how it affects business analysts. We were just talking about some of the healthcare trends, and one of them just cracked me up. Not one that we'll be discussing tonight, but some of the more odder ones. The magnetic diet ring. Now, I don't know. I mean, this just tickles me. I don't know why. I mean, is it something that you like put around your waist and it sort of throws you in front of the refrigerator door so you can't open it? Does it just sort of like, do you just stick to things that are metal and, hope you're near something that's not near the refrigerator? I'm not sure how that works.
No, it's
Actually, I'm
actually
sure.
it's just a ring that you wear on your finger that's supposed to make you thin. And if it's going to do that, it might as well make me tall, blonde, and rich at the same time.
That's right. I mean, what does it do? Does it pinch you or something when you want to eat? That's pretty funny.
Well,
No, I'm
there's
sure.
been a bunch of different ones, but this one that I just ran across is supposed to be magnetic. You know how everybody at some point, like magnets are supposed to
Yeah.
solve everything. I remember
Uh-huh.
when my uncle got sick years ago, and he was not finding anything that worked for him. I felt bad for him, but the funny part of it, and he was a funny guy. He liked to tell stories. So he talked about how he bought these magnetic pads to put in his shoes that were supposed to draw all the illness out of you. Later on, there was some sort of other pad that you could put in your shoe. Um, that did that. But this was all about the magnets. It was all about somehow it magnetized your system and got them out. I've seen them with like necklaces and earrings. Like they've done it in a lot
Yeah.
of different ways. But this one I just happened to run across. I had forgotten about it until I saw this magnetic diet ring. So it's supposed to help you lose weight. It's not going to heal you, but apparently you can lose over 30 pounds in 3 weeks. This is not true. We're not selling this.
No,
we're
no,
just
no, no.
it's just funny the stuff you trip
We're
across when
looking at
you're
the
on the web.
Yes, we're looking at the funnier side of healthcare trends. It's right up there with diet soap. So
Yes.
I don't know if you're washing away the calories or if you're eating it like your mother's shoving soap in your mouth so that you don't eat anything else. I'm not quite sure what the diet soap is all about, but that's also a healthcare trend.
Well, it just
And
goes to show like how far people will go to not exercise and change their eating habits.
well, I mean, did you ever see the movie Gypsy?
I'm one of
You
them.
gotta
I'm
have
not picking on anybody.
you gotta have a gimmick.
Yeah.
Weight loss sunglasses in Japan seem to be a hit, and I'm sure, I don't know, they probably just give you an altered view of everyone and yourself. So,
Oh no,
that's
there's science behind it. You want to hear the science?
I'm sure our audience does.
Okay, so supposedly they're blue tinted sunglasses, and the blue tint is supposed to make your food look dull, which evidently blue is not supposed to be an appetizing color, and so you're not going to want to eat it, and so it's going to help you lose weight. And the other benefit to it is if you are a stress eater, then it's also supposed to help you because blue is a calming color. Now, I love blue,
Wow.
but I don't think it's ever helped me lose any weight.
I mean, I'm like a boredom eater. So I think if I put on blue sunglasses, I might think I'm in the Mediterranean, want to eat or drink more, just because it gives you that calming, relaxing. Oh, let's have another beverage. Let's have another little
Exactly. Well,
sandwich. Yeah.
plus,
But it's big.
I don't think that the way food looks is really the primary motivator for most of us. It's the way it smells and the way it tastes and all that other good stuff. I don't think
Right. If someone
sunglasses are
makes
going
it
to
for
help.
you, and if you're busy like we are, if it's someone who cooks it for you, that is just the epitome of attraction to food. Someone else cooking.
And let's see. Okay, we still have minutes.
Okay.
We can do one more that I liked. Oh, well, go ahead. Do
ahead.
the promo, and then I'll do one more before we
Okay.
go.
Welcome everybody. We're 1 minute. Oh, actually, we are. It is 8 o'clock. So go
Okay.
ahead. We're going to be talking about real healthcare trends in for this year and how it affects the business analyst. But as if you were here for the pre-show, we were just talking about some of the more humorous healthcare trends. Kathleen has one more she wants to throw up there before we get started tonight.
We're just going to slide this last one in. So there's a slimming face roller. So the idea is that you rub this thing over your face, and it's going to take those baby fat cheeks off of you and make you look all kinds of model chin chiseled kind of thing. I don't think
Really.
so.
It doesn't really work for mammography, so I'm guessing it doesn't work for you. But anyway, we don't want to discredit any products out there.
No,
Anyway, so let's go.
we're not selling or promoting or mocking any of these, other than the fact that there are things we never
No.
thought of.
We're just entertaining you for just to pass some time. But anyway, let's get started tonight. Again, tonight's show, if we want to put up the slide there, is all about healthcare trends for 2018.
You want me to do my job?
I want you to do your job and put that. There you go. There's the title, and it's a continuation of this month's talk about being a business analyst in the healthcare domain. So we're going to go over a few of the trends for this year that are trending, and some of them have been trending for the past couple of years, and they're gaining momentum. And we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly regarding these trends. And I'm going to start off by telling you where everybody can catch us. Kathleen's got that slide somewhere. She's
Yes.
a little befuddled. She has
Give me a second.
an
I
ear
have
infection.
I have to go backwards to get that one come up. Okay, here we go. Yeah.
She has a bit of an ear infection. She's a little dizzy. Anyway, so you can follow us on Twitter at the BA Zone, on Instagram, Instagram.com, the BA Zone, Periscope TV, BA Zone, to Facebook, YouTube, or you can go to our website, thebazone.com. So we'll just cruise right along to the good, the bad, the ugly. And let's start with some of the good healthcare trends and what's going on out there in the healthcare world. I want to start talking about the good, which is mobile applications and medical wearables. So, mobile applications are everywhere for everything, and healthcare is no exception. There are apps to keep you healthy. There are apps to help you manage a condition once you have a condition or you get ill. So some of the examples of those are medication management mobile applications, chronic conditions like diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, and other cardiac issues. There's women's health applications around fertility, pregnancy, breastfeeding, child care. And then there's some of the wellness applications out there around weight loss, nutrition, fitness trackers. Everybody's seen those type of things. Stress reduction, relaxation, which we could all use some of. Sleep apnea, and smoking cessation, just to name a few. So, and mobile applications have been out there for a while, and the trend is obviously going to continue. And the focus will be, I think, more on optimizing the consumer experience or the customer experience or the patient, in addition to gathering data for population care management. And so once we had all these mobile applications with our phone, it was just a stone's throw away from, and even the fitness trackers, a stone's throw away from getting medical grade wearables. So it's sort of like fitness trackers. You can wear them anywhere depending on what they are. And these are the gadgets that people actually wear. And the adoption of those sort of Fitbits and those fitness trackers type thing by folks has paved the way for these clinical grade wearable technology. So they have everything from, which I recently actually saw on someone, a tracking device worn around the ankle, I guess that might have come out of the prison system, but it's a terrible thing to say. But they've adapted that for Alzheimer's patients to make sure they know where they are. But as far as remote monitoring uh, of a patient's biometrics, that is just starting to gain momentum. And those biometrics could then alert someone that something is wrong. And it sort of started with pacemakers and electronically sending that type of information. And it's gone from that to monitoring blood sugar, blood pressure, your temperature, respirations, pulse, oxygen, oxygen levels, weight, your activity level. And they're used a lot in for prevention of particular conditions and also post-treatment or monitoring of these chronic conditions. So the trend of these mobile applications and these medical grade wearables is going to continue to expand, and improvements are going to be made in the actual accuracy of capturing that data and how it's all stored. So what does that mean for the business analysts? BAs are always, as a BA, you're always looking to improve processes, right? And create solutions and potential options for clients. So it's no different in the healthcare field. Uh, it can affect you as a BA when you look at the bigger picture of everything. Uh, you have to think about things of how you're going to document things like these for the use cases, the electronic data transfers, security, patient physician interaction, and how all of that data will be stored, accessed, and updated. And when you look at it from a bigger picture, these are sort of uh, intake channels into potentially an electronic health record. So you could have information entered by patients through a mobile app or the medical wearables that could potentially drive care plans, treatment plans. They can affect claims payment. If you're not doing something you should be doing, you can provide education to the patient, and a whole host of information can be collected around that. And most of that information in today's healthcare system um, is used for quality of care for the patient and also to reduce hospitalizations. The hospitalizations are the most expensive thing. So if anything that affects that bottom line, if you can improve that quality for a customer, that's a great thing. Um, and all of that aggregated data that's going to be collected, that's going to be used in a lot of predictive modeling uh, that you could be involved in, where you're actually predicting illnesses or epidemics that could take place just based on information that's being collected from people. Years ago, we saw how the internet, searches on the internet, actually would be a precursor to an epidemic because people would be looking up certain symptoms and there'd be a lot of them looking them up, and it was actually a precursor to an epidemic. So, we want to stop those epidemics before they happen. So, as a BA, you really have to understand the healthcare trends so that you can effectively use that technology to solve issues and problems. Uh, Another medical trend that's along the same lines is telehealth. Telehealth, like telemedicine, telehealth is a little broader than telemedicine. And that is, using information and telecommuting technology to allow you to access clinicians in your own home or remotely, which is really important if you're in the global healthcare arena. I mean, there you can deliver healthcare via telecommunications, using they use all different types of specialists and healthcare workers, behavioral health therapists, clinical pharmacists, dietitians on a global level, and get into areas where normally you wouldn't be able to. So, as far as looking at things in a universal way, don't just think about what can be done here. A lot of these healthcare companies are going global. So now we're in the global arena as well with telehealth, in addition to it being used here. So you have to think now on a global level as a business analyst. Along the same lines, going up a little farther, we have the AI, artificial intelligence. So in that area, we have the virtual care, robotics, and artificial intelligence. It's going to offer advanced services that weren't available before, and that's going to pick up the speed. The speed of that AI is going to pick up as costs come down. It's sort of like, the first flat screen TV cost a fortune, and now you can pick them up relatively cheaply. And I don't know, Kathleen, if you caught it. I know I had sent you a text. 60 Minutes was on Sunday, and they had a fantastic segment on MIT and how MIT is working on these prosthetics that are using artificial intelligence. And there's all these sensors just around the end of, like, if someone had lost a limb, just around the end of the limb, and artificial intelligence is reading these nerves and responding and moving the foot appropriately. Now, years ago, they used to put that, they plug you in like a computer, to see what was going on. And now they can
Yeah.
literally read sensors to manipulate. It was fascinating. Did you catch that at all?
No, you did tell me you were watching 60 Minutes. You didn't tell me what it was about.
I said it was fascinating.
You just said
You
it was
should just,
fascinating, but I had no. I, to
I
be honest, I didn't
know.
even know 60 Minutes was still on the air because I don't watch much TV, so I didn't get to see it. But maybe I can catch it online.
But it,
But yeah, I've
it
seen that
was
kind of
really,
stuff. Even like if there aren't enough nerve endings, they can go farther up, and like if they can't, like if it's an arm or a leg, maybe then they'll go up to the shoulder or the hip. So they're really making some amazing strides in that. Instead of having to literally, like you just said, plug you in, right up into your brain. Literally, that's what they would do. You would see like this little cord coming out of somebody's head as they were
yeah,
experimenting and learning about this kind of stuff.
yeah. So, I mean, it's going to change the way people live, which is a great thing. And as a business analyst, we all, you have to be ready for any job opportunity that comes up. And especially if you're interested in that area, um, it's a lot of information being passed around and collected. And that's the biggest thing you have to think about.
But it's
Um,
information, it's robotics. There's a lot of parts in that. So that whatever your interest is, you could probably find an angle that would work.
right. And a lot of this stuff, we can argue it's definitely going to cause an expansion of the cloud-based applications, and there's going to be a tremendous amount of security and protection of data in the healthcare area, especially around HIPAA and being HIPAA compliant. I know that I think Amazon is currently offering some type of HIPAA compliant option. So that in itself is going to be a trend that's going to continue. And there's other, people are talking about edge-based cloud, using using the devices, doing more of the data passing before it actually goes to the cloud. That's a little farther away, though, I think, uh, than and up for healthcare anyway. But again, that expansion of the cloud is going to happen. I'm just going to take a little break here. Kathleen, do you want to just you know give us
Sure,
some
I could
folks
jump
some
in here for a
information?
second, and we can talk a little bit more about the fact that it's not just Amazon that's looking to get into it. So there's a lot of private companies that are trying to solve the healthcare issue and the insurance issue and access and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's Amazon. I think it's J.P. Morgan. I think maybe Berkshire also. There's a bunch of different ones that are doing this while the healthcare industry itself and the insurance companies are also trying to solve these problems. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes up with a workable solution and is it really going to help? It will be the other part of it. But that also is going to open up a lot of job opportunities for us because it's not even so much just working for them, which certainly will be an option, but they're going to need other resources. They're going to want to tie into other services. So there's going to be some overflow of this type of growth, not just directly into the healthcare solutions that they're trying to build, but into all the support things that they're going to need around that. Whether it's testing or security or storage, who knows what it's going to go into, but it could be astronomical growth for a lot of companies that maybe now are kind of a little bit under the radar. So this is a great time to start to bone up a little bit on your skills, and hey, amazingly enough, we can help you there. You can start off by signing up for our mailing list. And as a thank you, we're going to send you our healthcare glossary, which is just one thing that you can do to help kind of speed up yourself so that you can get into this industry, start getting familiar with it, start reading about it online, and who knows, in 6 months, a year, 2 years, you could be working in a groundbreaking environment documenting these new systems.
Great, thank you. Thanks a lot, Kathleen. So let's talk a little bit about the bad, and I say that sort of tongue-in-cheek, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The bad is not, it's not that it's bad, it's just things that slow down some of these trends. And most of the bad is around, policies, politics, and regulations. So as we're sort of, uh, there's been a dismantling of the Affordable Care Act, and we're not exactly sure if there's going to be funding that's cut or higher insurance rates or how that's all going to shake out. Um, but there's definitely that all affects a lot of how quickly some of these things grow or get deployed. Another thing that slows things down are, especially around the wearable medical grade devices. There's some FDA. The FDA is getting involved now, and that's always a slow approval process. In a way, it makes sense because you want to make sure that this data, if it's especially life dependent, is accurate. But that kind of stuff will slow that down, as well as regulations. If you caught last week's show on fraud, healthcare fraud, and if you didn't, you can go out there. It's out there, Kathleen. I'll give you all the specifics on that. You can watch it or watch it again. There's all of these regulations and compliance of these rules and regulations that are going to, and they have already increased the documentation process that a physician and all healthcare workers, it increased their workload and it sort of reduces the actual patient care. So this technology will help with that patient care, but hopefully it will also optimize the experience of the actual clinicians, so that that's being considered in order to follow all this compliance. And that's sort of the bad, that it just takes away from the patient care because so much things have to be documented. As a BA, all of these trends in regulations and policies and procedures are going to rely heavily on documented business rules and use cases in order to meet the compliance of those rules and regulations. And it all has to be auditable. Everything has to be audited and pass those compliance audits. So it's something to consider for business analysts. Brush up on the business rules and use cases, and we can help you do that as well. The other trend in sort of the bad area, and this has just been going on for years, and Kathleen and I have been through this many, many times, and that's the continued mergers and acquisitions. Everyone is seeking economies of scale in business, healthcare as well. And at the same time, they're sort of looking for care coordination and continuum of care. And the only way to do that, it seems a lot of times, is with mergers, or partnering with providers is also a big thing happening currently. I say it's a bad thing only in that it is disruptive and it tends to sometimes slow down innovation. You could be in a company that has a great product and is moving along, and either management decides to sell the company or they are bought. Irregardless, now you have to merge these two companies, and it just sort of slows the entire process down. Who's got the better this, that type of thing. And that's sort of why it's in the bad area type of thing. But, sometimes it's very beneficial, a merger and acquisition, but it is very stressful and it just kind of slows things down. So as a BA, you just need to be flexible in that area. So sometimes you may feel like, you're taking, one step forward and two steps back, but it is going to continue as a trend as people try to reach those economies of scale. And I think we're up to the ugly, and this is no reflection on Kathleen, but I'm going to let Kathleen handle the ugly. And she'll talk about that.
Oops. Okay, so, just before we go there, we do want to take a second to thank you all for joining us this evening. And if you're new, please type new in the comments wherever you are. I have everything up so that we can say hello to you and welcome you to the fold. We are building a very nice community of people who like to help each other, and we're all facing the same problems, so we are thrilled to have you here. We also want to let you know that we have a mailing list, and if you would like to join it, you can feel free, because we're never going to sell it, we're never going to spam you, it will be safe with us. The only reason we have the mailing list is so that we can let you know what we're doing, what shows are coming up, and as we start to do some cool new stuff that we're going to do later in the year, you'll be the first ones to find out about it. So you can go and join the mailing list by going to thebazone.com/healthcare, and as a thank you, we will send you a glossary of healthcare terms. So whether you are in the industry and you're just looking to freshen up maybe your memory and some terminology, or if you're looking to join it and you'd like to start getting familiar with some of the most common terminology, you can go ahead and sign up for that, and we will be very happy to send that to you for free. All right, so as Mayor said, let me bring this up for you one sec. It's hard to talk and do this at the same time. So, we are going to talk a little bit about the ugly. So some of the ugliest things that are going to happen. It's funny, when I happened to mention to somebody that we were doing this, and they were like, oh yeah, all the gross stuff in healthcare. And actually, as BAs, we don't really run into a lot of that. The ugly I'm talking about are things like cybersecurity and the ransomware attacks and all of that kind of stuff that's happening out there on a frighteningly high basis. So I went and dug up some numbers. So let me just dig these up here. So last year, 2017, there was an 89% increase in ransomware attacks against healthcare organizations. Now, if you don't know what ransomware is, basically it's somebody will release something into the computer environment. Very often it's unleashed by an unwitting person clicking on something in an email, but that's not the only way to do it. And what they do is basically take over all of the computers they can get to, all of the data they can get to, the servers, lock them down, lock you out of it, and then literally, that's why it's called ransomware, they tell you that if you don't pay X amount in a certain time, your data is going to be gone forever. Now, that's never good for anybody, but when it comes to the healthcare organizations, that is really crippling. I mean, first of all, there's the whole HIPAA issue, okay? People's private information, very sensitive information is out there. But also, if you're so a lot of the targets have been hospitals. And so just to give you the other number, so like I said, 89% increase in last year in attacks. 45% of all ransomware attacks last year were on healthcare targets. So we're talking hospitals, the pharmaceuticals, you name it, that they went after it. So if you think about it in the case of a hospital, if somebody goes and they attack a hospital system and shut them down, that shuts down everything, because everything is connected to a computer at some point. So we're talking obvious things like patient records, doctor records, that type of thing. But we're also talking about the machines that they're using, the Da Vinci, that they use for surgery, the things that are monitoring heart rates and breathing, the things that are dispensing medication on a regular basis. Everything in the hospital at this point is connected to something. And so what's happened with these attacks is a lot of times that, immediately while everybody's scrambling to try to figure it out, and of course they try to stop it at first and all, the hospitals are having to go back to digging up old equipment, going back to paper records and doing everything by hand. It's a nightmare. And if it's happening while, someone you love or you are in surgery or whatever, who knows what could go wrong? It's an absolute nightmare. In most cases, just to layer on the technical complexity, they want to be paid in Bitcoin because it's not easily traced and all that kind of stuff. Well, the problem is most of these healthcare companies, especially when this first started, had no idea what Bitcoin was, how to get it, what to do about it. Then they were going to the government officials who were telling them, which is the standard issue, you don't pay ransom. But in the meantime, they've got people's lives on the line here. So it's a huge issue, which just raises the issue of cybersecurity to an even higher level than before. And it's not just about, the ransomware. There's all kinds of other nasty things, malware that's out there. But this is the kind of thing that's going to be more and more critical for us to be up to speed on so that we can, as a part of whatever projects we're working on, ensure that these levels of security are there. that we are able to document, and recommend proposed systems that will grow, because the whole problem with security of any sort, and particularly cybersecurity, is it's a game of whack-a-mole. As soon as you come up with a way to protect yourself, they find a way around it. And so you have to find something else, and it just escalates on forever. So it's not like somebody can, create a new system, install it, and say, okay, you're secure forever. It's never going to be that way. So talk about the need for living documentation that can be accessed and updated on a regular basis, because these tools and software solutions are definitely going to need to be updated just on a regular basis, depending on what's going on in the world. And this is a global thing. So I just did a quick hit on the web because I was looking for some examples. I kind of remembered, and I found that, so in the UK, they hit 16 hospitals last May. And that was probably one of the biggest ones. Pretty much up to that point, they had been hitting individual hospitals or doctors' offices or that type of thing. But this one took out 16, probably because the UK is so good about having their systems integrated. So it probably started with one and spread to the other because of the connections that existed. So maybe it wasn't a system that you worked on, but it was a system in someplace else that had the issue. You're still going to have to deal with that in your systems. You're going to have to be able to resolve those issues and try to prepare for it as much as possible. And in case you think it's not still happening, so I found another one that happened in Indiana to a single hospital, but a very big one in Indiana. And this is dated January 15th of this year. So this is an ongoing issue. It's going to just keep getting bigger and bigger. And there really isn't any quick solution to any of this, but is going to be the kind of thing that is going to need a lot of very tech-savvy business analysts who are able to document and explain these very complex issues to the business, and then communicate to IT and QA and all those folks about how the solutions need to be implemented and what solutions need to be there. So if you have any interest in any of that kind of stuff, if any of this goes, ooh, this sounds like an interesting problem to you, you have got work coming like you wouldn't believe. And you should get yourself ready and get that resume brushed up, because the jobs are certainly going to be out there. Okay, why is Mare hiding behind something? I don't know what she's doing. What are you hiding behind?
Ransomware.
Ah, you're afraid of ransomware. It's a nasty business.
Yeah. There I am. I'm here to ransom your stuff. Yes, this is nasty business. Thank you very much, Kathleen the Ugly. So, in general, why is this all important? Why are we doing this? So, as a business analyst, a lot of times you're just trying to survive the next iteration or get to the next, the next sprint and get through that. But you really have to think of the big picture here. And you have to think of it in terms of interoperability and, file feeds, how that data is secure, as Kathleen was saying, and transmitted. The technology is all out there. It's not going away. It's just a matter of how are we going to use it to provide solutions to your clients. There's tons of stuff out there in the healthcare field, like we already said. So you really just need to educate yourself around it and then just go for it. And you'll at least come up with some solutions that might surprise people. And hopefully you can get them funded and get them across the line. But keep up with the trends. And if not, we'll keep you up with the trends. Even those such as the magnetic diet ring. No, we won't be. But I mean, we heard that earlier. But we will keep you abreast of all the trends. And that's all I have for this evening. Kathleen, do you have anything else to discuss?
No, I mean, I think we hit it. There's certainly going to be a lot of opportunity out there. There's a lot of variety. So even if one aspect of this doesn't interest you, I'm sure there's something else that will. And it's going to be growing. There's just no two ways about it. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but, we're all wearing some kind of wearable device that's keeping track of us.
Yeah, that's true. Whether you know it or not, it's keeping track of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, whether it's, your steps, your heart rate, your body temperature, they're developing ones for tracking like diabetes. They're not just doing them as like these kinds of wearables, but they're actually talking about contact lenses and, I mean, again, all the stuff that you would probably see on Star Trek is coming. And some of it can't come fast enough for me because I don't like needles. So
it's all alien technology.
Keep my eyes open. Yeah, exactly.
It's all alien technology. But, and again, we hope you enjoyed this segment. There's no questions out there right now, right, Kathleen?
Give me 1 second, and I will look while you talk to them about the lovely mailing list and other goodies.
Yeah, if you didn't catch it before, sign up for our mailing list, and we will send you a healthcare glossary. We don't do anything with your email. We don't send you any kind of spam, anything like that. It's just so that we can inform you of what we're doing and what's upcoming. And you'll get the medical glossary. I think we also have out there a survey, something on surveys as well. And you can get that as
Yeah,
well.
I think that's forward slash survey to get that one. It's signing up for the mailing list, but you get the survey
Yep.
guidelines instead of the healthcare glossary.
And you'll find out what's going on and what we're doing next. And as always, if you're interested in anything in particular that you'd like us to talk about, that you'd like to hear about, just drop us a comment, a line, and we'll be happy to try to fit you into where we will fit you into the schedule at some point. And I think that wraps up this month on business analysts in healthcare. I
Yep.
think we're going to be talking next week about interacting with the different roles and different team members and how that can all go south and how you can prevent that from going south in most cases. And that's
We'll,
what the
we'll, we'll try
focus
to
will be
avoid
on.
labeling it good, bad, and ugly. We'll come up with something better than that.
That's right.
Something nicer.
Choke, maim, and kill. No, we won't say that. But
The
I mean,
helpful, the challenging.
yeah, we'll come up with something politically correct for that. But again, just drop us a line if you want to hear anything. And thanks again. We really appreciate all of you showing up and taking some of your precious time to hang out with us. And we'll hope to see you next week. Thanks again. Good night, everybody.
Good night.